everyone. This is Karen.
Welcome, everybody. I am Shane.
Today we're looking at part 1 of Brunch, a meal for the modern age. And the vocabulary words are coin.
Coin.
This 16th century writer coined many words that we still use today.
Sweep.
Sweep.
Bob swept all unnecessary thoughts away as he focused on the task.
Good. Wealthy.
Wealthy.
Only wealthy people have enough money to buy a house in this neighborhood.
Customer.
Customer.
After the last customer had left, the owner locked the store's front doors.
Local.
Local.
The local police station is located near Melody's apartment.
Aha!
So, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about brunch.
Brunch. That's right. Yummy, yummy brunch.
I love brunch.
What is brunch?
Breakfast plus lunch.
You put them together.
Brunch.
So it's kind of like a late breakfast, but before lunch.
How about dinner?
It is
Lunch
and dinner.
And dinner. But it's not as popular as brunch. Brunch, everybody knows what brunch is, right?
Yeah, and I think it's really popular, especially on the weekend, because most people can sleep in on the weekend.
That's right. You want to sleep late on the weekend.
Yes.
And then you can get up and have a very filling, delicious breakfast / lunch.
I know.
Brunch.
And it's a good way to, good gathering with your friends too. Social occasion, people get together to have a nice meal together.
Oh, I really want to have some French toast. And
Omelette. Eggs and bacon.
Oh.
The list goes on and on.
Okay, now I'm starving.
Me too.
All right, let's go get some brunch.
All right. And you guys learn more about brunch.
Enjoy.
Brunch, a meal for the modern age. Brunch, the late morning meal that mixes the words breakfast and lunch, is a popular pastime with roots that stretch back a century. The term made its first appearance in a British magazine in 1895, and it was coined to describe a late Sunday morning meal that was light and easy to fix. The idea was that brunch would be a social, relaxing event which could sweep away the worries and cobwebs of the week.
Today's lesson is called Brunch, a meal for the modern age. Part 1. Hello everyone, my name is Jeff.
And I'm Mike. Do you like to eat food? Do you like to eat food in the morning time, maybe around breakfast or around lunch? What about in between those two wonderful first 2 meals of the day?
You mean lekfist?
No, I do
like
not.
Like lunch plus breakfast?
I do
lekfist.
not. No, not quite lekfist. Do the same thing you just did, but put the words in the opposite positions.
Breakfast plus lunch.
You got
Break lunch.
Not quite. No, brunch.
Oh.
The BR for breakfast.
Okay. That's better. That sounds better.
It does sound better, and it sounds better than dinner.
Or lekfist.
Lunch and dinner.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that. That's an afternoon snack.
More on brunch. Brunch, the late morning meal that mixes the words breakfast and lunch, is a popular pastime with roots that stretch back a century. Yes, it's kind of an old custom apparently.
I didn't know that people had been brunching, yeah, we can use it as a verb, for over 100 years, but that seems to be the case, and history is here to back it up. It says the term brunch, this term or word, made its first appearance in a British magazine in 1895, and it was coined to describe a late Sunday morning meal that was light and easy to fix. So this is a bit of the history. A British magazine back 1895 said, everyone these days is eating brunch. It allows you to go to church on Sunday morning and still have a meal after church, but before you would traditionally eat your lunch. So I guess it's convenient when you go to church, as people did or do on Sundays, or Today they probably sleep in a little bit. But this was the first time this word was used back in 1895. The first time the word brunch was coined.
There you go. Now, earlier Mike said, yes, we've got the word brunch, and we can use it as a noun or as a verb. And for the word coin, the same thing is true. A coin, the word coin here as a noun, would be like a disc of metal that you use to pay for stuff. It's like a piece of metal that is money. Here, though, the verb form is going to change things up. If you coin something in this case, in this particular situation, you do not make a coin. To coin something like a word or a name or a term or a phrase is to come up with a new word or term or name or phrase or something like that. You invent a new way of saying something. That's that. For example, this 16th century writer coined many words that we still use today.
So brunch, this term was coined back in 1895. It was a late breakfast or early lunch. It says the idea was that brunch would be a social, relaxing event which could sweep away the worries and cobwebs of the week. So this wasn't just a simple meal to fill your stomach because you were hungry. It was almost like a little party, a social and relaxing event, like a dinner party or meeting your friends for lunch or something like that. At the end and sort of the beginning of the week, you could sweep away the worries and cobwebs of the weekend. Look forward to the week to come. When we use sweep in this term, it's a verb, of course, we're not talking about using a broom and sweeping the floor, although the idea is similar. Here it's more used like erase or to wipe away, to get rid of something. So you're not sweeping the worries in your mind, but you're trying to forget the worries. Erase those worries, get them out of your brain, get them to stop bothering you. For example, Bob swept all unnecessary thoughts away as he focused on the task. Now, however you use this verb sweep, whether you're sweeping away memories or sweeping the floor, it's an irregular verb in the past tense. So sweep, swept, swept. Those two other ones are S-W-E-P-T. No ED to talk about this term in the past.
No way. All right, folks, with that, it's time for us to take a break, but don't go away. We'll be right back after this.
After brunch?
Maybe.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。同学们喜欢跟朋友一起去吃早午餐吗？早午餐的英文是将早餐 breakfast 它的 br 跟午餐 lunch 后面的 unch 结合在一起变成 brunch。Brunch 这个词是什么时候创造的呢？它第一次是出现在1895年一本英国杂志里面，用来形容一顿星期天早上稍微晚一点去享用的，而且是清淡又很容易准备的餐点。那对人们来说，它其实像是一种社交活动，让人可以放松啊，然后少去一整个礼拜的烦恼还有混乱的思绪。好，先来看两个单字 ，coin。它当名词表示硬币、钱币，可是在课文里面是当动词表示创造，尤其是指创造新的字词啊，或是新的表达方式。那么 sweep 它有扫地的意思嘛？那在这边表示拂去或是清扫，它的动词三态是 sweep、swept。好，那么文中的片语动词 sweep away 就表示彻底的消除或是破坏。Mike 老师在解释单字时呢，他用到 broom 这个字 ，broom 就表示扫把。然后还有一个动词是 erase 是拼作 erase， 这个字表示擦掉、抹去，也可以指消除、清除。老师还有用到一个片语叫 wipe away 字面上是指擦去、抹去，那它其实也有消去啊、消除、摧毁的意思。好，再来看补充单字 pastime 就是消遣娱乐。那么 cobweb 它是蜘蛛网，那在课文里面引申用来表达混乱的思绪。解回到课文中。
Brunch, a meal for the modern age. From this beginning, brunch began to spread. In the 1920s and 30s, this delicious British invention made its way to the United States. There, the city of Chicago became America's brunch capital because it was the central point of the nation's railroad system. Hollywood stars going to New York and wealthy New Yorkers heading west would all arrive in Chicago in the late morning.
Okay, before the break there, we started to learn about the origins of brunch. It started there in England in 1895, and from this beginning, brunch began to spread. In the 1920s and 30s, this delicious British invention made its way to the United States.
So just as today, trends will spread, they'll catch on and become popular in different places as time goes by. I guess back then it took a little bit longer. They didn't have Facebook or the news, things like that. But it did spread, and eventually Americans were brunching. It says there in the United States, there, the city of Chicago, your old hometown, the city of Chicago became America's brunch capital because it was the central point of the nation's railroad system. That's true. Chicago is kind of the link up between the sort of wild open west and the big cities of the east. So that's why Chicago has and was and continues to be a very important city. And this was also partly to do with how people traveled around America at that time. Hollywood stars going to New York and wealthy New Yorkers heading west would all arrive in Chicago in the late morning. So people from California going to New York and people from New York going out west, they'd all meet up in Chicago, and I guess the train schedules would have them arriving in the late morning. So after breakfast, before lunch, around 10 or 11 a.m.
Just in time for brunch.
Perfect.
There you go. All of these railroad lines, they would all have to go to Chicago, and people would arrive there in the late morning and have brunch. By the way, not everyone could afford to do this. You'd either have to be a Hollywood star or a wealthy New Yorker to do this. By the way, if you're wealthy, you are rich. Yes, the word wealthy, it's an adjective, and it describes people who have a lot of money. They're very rich. For example, only wealthy people have enough money to buy a house in this neighborhood. Anyways, folks, with that, it's time for us to take a break right now. But don't go away. We'll be right back after this.
早午餐是源自于英国，它从一开始就传播开来了，流行了起来。那在1920跟1930年代，这个发明传入美国，那芝加哥这个城市就成了美国的早午餐之都，因为芝加哥这是美国铁路系统的中心点哦，像好莱坞的明星要前往纽约，或者是有钱的纽约人要前往西部，都会经过这里。那他们抵达的时间就差不多是我们一般吃早午餐的时间，可能就是早上稍晚，大概是10点多、11点的时候。好，那我们先来看单字 wealthy。Wealthy， 它是形容富有的、有钱的。那刚刚 Mike 老师提到，芝加哥算是东西部的连接点。那老师用到 link up，link up， 它是拼作 L-I-N-K-U-P， 这个字表示连接或是连结，是当名词用。那老师还用到一个片语叫 catch on，catch on， 它可以用来表达流行，变得很受欢迎。接回到课文中。
Brunch, a meal for the modern age. To feed these hungry customers, local hotels served fancy brunches at a time when most other restaurants were closed. Over the years, brunch began to be enjoyed by people outside of the upper class.
Brunch. Apparently back in the day in America, in Chicago, it was for the wealthy. One way or another, though, all these wealthy people, they would congregate in Chicago in the late morning, and they would be hungry. They would want to eat. And to feed these hungry customers, local hotels served fancy brunches at a time when most other restaurants were closed.
It's true. A lot of restaurants still do close after that morning breakfast rush. they'll close for an hour or two before they reopen for lunch. So brunch allowed these customers to have a meal, but the restaurants did have to stay open longer. But I guess with a lot of wealthy, hungry people hanging around, it makes good business sense to open up and serve your customers. Customer, this noun is basically a client, someone who buys something, someone who goes to a store, a restaurant, any type of business really, and buys something. 7-Elevens will have hundreds or thousands of customers in one day, but if you're selling a luxury car, you might only get 1 or 2 customers a day, but in both cases, these are people who come into the business with money because they would like to buy something. For example, after the last customer had left, the owner locked the store's front doors. They'll reopen tomorrow when the customers can come back in. And we also had the adjective local.
There you go. The adjective local describes something that is located in some place or located next to some place. So here we're talking about local hotels in Chicago. We're talking about hotels that are in Chicago. Okay, those are local hotels that are located in Chicago or close to Chicago. By the way, this word can be used as a noun. If you are a local, you live in some place, in some location. For example, the local police station is located near Melody's apartment. So where's the nearby police department? It's near Melody's place. Anyways, more on brunch over the years. Brunch began to be enjoyed by people outside of the upper class. So in Chicago there, we're talking about Hollywood stars and wealthy New Yorkers, extremely rich people. But over time, other people started to enjoy brunch too, not just the upper classes.
That's right. So now we can all pay a little bit too much for bacon and eggs.
And avocado toast.
That's true. But it is a nice social event. It's a nice way to sort of begin to wrap up your weekend. So yeah, call up your friends, find a nice place downtown to have a Saturday or a Sunday brunch. I'm sure you won't regret it. And I hope you haven't regretted joining us for these fascinating 2 days of articles about brunch. We'll have more delicious stuff for you coming up very soon. But until then, happy brunching.
Bye.
刚刚说到好莱坞明星要往东，有钱的纽约人要往西，都会经过芝加哥。那这些上流人士会在早上稍晚的时候聚集在这个地方。Jeff 老师用到 congregate， 它是拼作 congregate， 这个动词它表示聚集或者是集合。好，那由于很多餐厅可能靠近中午的时候才会开张，那为了帮这些饿肚子的顾客们准备餐点，当地的饭店就会在其他大部分餐厅休息时间呢，来帮他们提供精致丰盛的早午餐。那经过多年之后，上层阶级以外的人们也开始享用早午餐了。老师们就开玩笑说，一般人就会开始多花一点钱去享用培根蛋啊、酪梨烤吐司之类的。那 Jeff 老师说的 avocado 它是拼作 avocado， 这个字表示酪梨。好，最后来看单字 customer， 它是顾客、客户。那 Mike 老师说的 client 也是客户，不过通常是指像律师啊、会计师等等这些专业人士的委托人或是客户。好，那么 local 可以当形容词或当名词。当形容词就是形容当地的、本地的；当名词就表示当地人、本地人。好啦，以上是今天的讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。大家好，我是 Hanny。在今天的课程中，我们要介绍2个文法重点。第一个是 make one's way 的不同意思与用法。第二个是 when 做关系副词的用法。首先，我们来学习 make one's way 的不同意思及用法。第一种是表达前往什么什么，那么后面可以接 to 加上地点，或是接表示方向、地点的副词。例如，When her name was called, Melissa stood up and made her way to the stage. 当 Melissa 的名字被叫到时，她起身前往舞台。 那么第二种是用来比喻一路顺遂发展的意思。例如 Samantha is making her way in the fashion industry. Samantha 在时尚界逐渐有所成就。最后，我们来学习 when 做关系副词的用法。when 做关系副词的时候，相当于 in which 或是 on which 或者是 at which， 它可以引导关系子句来修饰表示时间的先行词。当先行词是非特定的时间点 when 的前面不加逗号， when 引导的关系子句是用来限定先行词的范围，那么这就是限定用法。例如 The day when he was born was cold and stormy. 也可以说 The day on which he was born was cold and stormy. 他出生的那一天很冷，而且还有暴风雨。那么句中的先行词 the day 为非特定时间点，因此用限定用法 when 的前面不加逗号。关系子句 when he was born 是用来限定先行词的范围，说明是他出生的那一天。当先行词是特定的时间点 when 的前面就必须加逗号，那么 when 引导的关系子句是用来补述说明先行词，这就是非限定用法。例如 Jim was born in 1914 when World War I broke out. Jim 出生于1914年，那一年第一次世界大战爆发。好，那么句中的先行词1914年年份明确，因此是用非限定用法 when 的前面要加逗号。关系子句 when World War I broke out 是用来补充说明先行词，说明那一年一战爆发。以上是今天的重点整理，我们下次见喽 See you next time, bye.
租屋必备的5句英语实用句。
欢迎收看就爱讲英文
我是悠悠，
我是季安。
租屋的时候一定要问租金、押金含水电吗？这些英文你会说吗？
来，今天跟大家分享5个实用句关于租屋的。The rent is a month. 2. I need a deposit. 3. Are utilities included? 4. When can we sign the contract? 5. Rent is due on the
第一个呢，就是房租多少钱，很重要。
对 ，the rent is 多少多少钱、a month。
对
，OK， 所以呢，你要问什么 ？How much is the rent?
How much is the rent?
How much is the rent? 好，你问完之后，房东啦或者是中介就会跟你讲啦。
但是呢，如果租房子还要支付一些押金啊，因为那个房东怕你有没有就是不付啊，或者是有些是东西把它弄坏掉，
对对，钻墙壁之类的。
对，
所以他会先把一些钱拿起来放，好，
压2个月
押金就是 deposit。好，那通常呢就是1个月或2个月，一般是2个月了，但有些比较好的也会有1个月。好，所以你会说啊，我需要1个月的押金。
好
，I need a 1 month deposit。
I need a 1 month deposit。
好 ，deposit 就是预付款押金，然后就是预先付的。I need a 2 month deposit。
I need a 2 month deposit。
对，或者是如果你是房东的话，你就说，哎，你要先支付个2个月的押金啊。You need to pay a 2 month deposit。
这个房东态度没有很好，我没有想要租，好不好？
直接进我的口袋。You need to pay a 2 month deposit or 3 month deposit。
太过分了啦！但是呢，有没有问这个含水电瓦斯？这个很重要。
水电瓦斯这个英文呢，就1个字，水电瓦斯变成 utilities。utilities。
对，
超好用的啊。utilities。所以呢。Does the rent include utilities?
Does the rent include utilities?
好，这个租金呢，它包含水电瓦斯吗？Does the rent include utilities? OK， 或者你也可以说 Are utilities included?
这比较简单。
对
，Are utilities included?
对，就啊，这个1个月多少钱哦？Are utilities included? 这个有包水电瓦斯吗？
对，你喜欢这个房子，然后又都包，
都包
赶快签约，
立马签哈，
是不是
所以你问他什么时候可以签约嘞 ？When can we sign the contract？
When can we sign the contract？
对 ，contract 是契约或者是合
合约
哈，sign the contract 就是签合约。
Sign the contract，你还要问说什么时候付这个租金，何时到期？有时候是怎么1年1签啊，或是半年1签之类的。
哦，对对对，好，那我们就问他说，On what day is the rent due？
On what day is the rent due？
租金几号要交？哈，什么时候到期？这样。好，那房东就问你，就回你哦。The rent is due on the 几月几号这样哈，几号哈，或者是 rent is due on the 好，比如说7号。The rent is due on the 7th.
The rent is due on the 7th.
每个月7号缴房租哦。
不要忘记哦。
看今天的 live action. I like the house a lot, but
Very good.
But before I decide, I have a few questions.
Okay.
How much is the rent?
2?
The rent is $20,000 a month.
$20,000 a month.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I'll need a 2-month deposit.
2 months deposit. Are utilities included in the rent?
Of course not.
You know, I'm a poor, very poor college student.
All right. Water is included.
Okay, thanks a lot. So when can we sign the contract?
Whenever you like, the room is vacant.
Anything else I should take notice of?
Rent is due on the 5th of every month. 5th of every month.
Fifth.
The 5th of every month.
All right.